Good morning and welcome to For Fantasy's Sake, the Quad City's first and only fantasy football show. I am your host, Doug the Grinch Green. I am joined by always DJ, the man with the bag Jarvis, and the guy who usually wears Mrs. Claus's sweater, Michael Silverbell Sicoli.
Why did I get the worst one of the bunch?
Got him.
As always, we are sponsored by Mobile Party Experience, the Quad City's best party experience. Someday I'm going to learn that tagline before the season is up. I don't like my odds.
You got 2 weeks, Doug. You got 2 weeks. Maybe you'll just hammer it on like the final week. Speaking of hammering things,
Yes.
Every time that we have Sicoli or Nick on the show, so the last few weeks, we get this promo rolling, and I'm like, man, I really got to get them just a dope intro into their show that they can just get everybody charged, for Monday Night Hammer, which you guys are doing a fantastic job on. But we definitely got to get you one of those dope entrances, other than just, the kimono and for Nick and your grandma's sweater.
Grandma's sweater. This show has been on for 2 minutes right now, and I've been insulted twice in 2 minutes. And that's fine. That's fine.
That's actually low for us.
Well, yeah. It's funny because, as I've told you guys, I work later on Mondays, and it's funny. I just always get out of work and have like text messages like, "Hey, does your guy always shop at the Goodwill?" And I'm like, he's a college kid. Sometimes they got a thrift shop.
It's a TJ Maxx exclusive. It's fantastic. I love that jacket. And if you want to see it, tune in Monday. But it's, you know what? I'm fine with it. I don't know why we're not making fun of Nick's kimono. I feel like that's more easy to make fun of. But
classy. It's classy.
It's classic. Okay. I get it.
All right. So this week, while I have been busy off reliving my childhood and watching all kinds of nerdy stuff, evidently the corona has swept through the NFL. And nobody's left to play, judging by my Twitter timeline. We're starting UPS drivers and a couple of auto salesmen because they also have Sundays off. And Chick-fil-A is sending in reinforcements.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy. One thing that we've kind of been, and I've been trying to refrain from saying this because I do have fantasy matchups, but we've been kind of really lucky with a lot of the big names haven't been on this list. And so there's been a couple, obviously, like Henderson and OBJ, but Henderson missed last week. It looks like him and OBJ will both be cleared for Tuesday's game. So we've been kind of lucky. Nobody gives a flying crap about Baker Mayfield. So, we've been really lucky not to have these huge names be put on the COVID list. Like, I know we had this conversation earlier in the season. Think about Josh Allen. Think about Lamar Jackson. Think about these guys who aren't unvaccinated, and now you're missing 2 games during the fantasy playoffs. So I would consider yourself lucky if you roster any superstar that's unvaccinated, that they've not ended up on these lists.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say I second that point, although you didn't leave out one superstar that's on that COVID list right now. Christian McCaffrey.
Is hurt anyway.
I know. But no, that's definitely a fair point. Like we expected going into the season that you could see the Cole Beasley of the world, someone who, he might be getting you through the week even. You were expecting him to miss a few weeks with COVID. Josh Allen, players that were vocal about it, they haven't really come down with it. And I think the league's done a good job of maintaining it up until this point. So hopefully we can get this out before week 15.
I think the big thing to keep an eye out for the next 2 weeks, especially with how quote unquote contagious this Omicron variant is they're not going to test vaccinated players unless they have symptoms. And so we're going to see a lot of the cases where these vaccinated players might even have the COVID and they're not getting tested. So that I think that does make your risk of having your vaccinated player or unvaccinated players miss some time. I think that runs the risk a little bit more. And if you want that list, I think Doug said Mina Kimes has that list somewhere out there. I know like Dak, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz. Not that anybody's in the fantasy playoffs starting Carson Wentz, but all those guys or will be tested on a daily basis going forward.
I did see that Carson Wentz did reach his snap count goal yesterday, so Philly gets an extra first-round pick.
Yeah, that's big for them.
Yeah,
big for them.
Funny.
Yeah, what do you guys think about like kind of crazy?
Yes, I think you're kind of crazy.
Oh, he's raising a good point right now, though, Doug. I think he's back. Oh, dude, you're back? You just froze.
If he was making a good point, it's the first one he's ever made.
He was.
Mediacom hates me.
They're on the list. All right. Why don't you put up your ranks, and we will see what else you've gotten wrong this week.
Wow.
Kyler, Tom, Rodgers, Prescott.
Keep in mind if you're tuning in, this is not including the guys who have already played. So
Taysom Hill at 8.
That rushing floor. I mean, he gets all those points with his rushing yards. It's kind of where we were early on with Lamar when he wasn't throwing the ball real well. Is you're probably going to get 100 yards and a touchdown out of Taysom Hill with his legs, and that's right there, 16 points.
Wow.
I don't see too much of a dislike with these ranks, to be honest, Steve. And you know how critical I'd like to be, but I recognize the value that Taysom Hill brings on that ground. Same with Jalen Hurts. You know, he might not get done as a passer, but he's going to run the ball 15 times.
It was really hard to rank, not including the top, two of the top quarterbacks in the league, Herbert and Mahomes this week, who would have likely been, 2 and 3, at the beginning of the week. So.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out here as well as if, I know people were saying this before the Thursday game and definitely before last night's game as well, is if you got two guys, at least for me, if you're close on this list, you're deciding between two, choose the guy that's playing sooner. Because at this point, anyone can get COVID, anything can happen. If you're banking on someone in that Tuesday game, you're opening yourself to the possibility that you could be left high and dry. And that's something you can prevent.
Yeah. One of the things that I did in the two leagues that I run is I sent a message out saying, if you have any of these games that are affected by COVID, go ahead and put a guy who's your in emergency. This is the guy I'm starting. Like I'm playing Josh Jacobs in one league, but if he doesn't play, if they end up, if he gets COVID or they end up banging that game, I would play Myles Gaskin. Right. And I think that's a prudent thing to do as a commissioner. The other thing I saw in some places on Twitter is they were actually taking votes to make, the playoff week's best ball just to kind of avoid this type of deal. Yeah, I know it gets kind of goofy with that, but there are reasons to make adjustments. I think the biggest thing is you definitely don't want to schedule a playoff matchup for COVID like we saw a commissioner do on Twitter.
We did. He got blasted for it, and rightfully so.
Rightfully so. I liked Matthew Berry's comment because the guy said he wanted to quit fantasy football, and the guy's like, "Don't quit fantasy football, just quit this commissioner."
I forget the word he used, but it was a really good way to describe him. It was a weasel. That was it. He called him a weasel.
I think the hardest thing with like fantasy football in situations like this, especially if you're able, because we all saw that email it had first names in it. So it's likely these dudes are either family or they've, they're friends, long-term friends. And, you never want to see fantasy football tear apart a friendship, but it happens.
It can. And if I lose this week in some leagues, I may never be friends with those people again. So I have done too much smack talking in one of my leagues to be coming up short this week. And I'm a 6 seed. It's not looking great for me. But now fantasy football is a passionate thing. But, it's at the end of the day, it's a game. So you're not going to change things up just to make a quick buck. But as for the rankings, I do love Tua as a nice streaming candidate against the Jets this week. I think Jimmy G is a capable one against Atlanta as well. That's one of the worst defenses against the fancy QB this season. Burrow, I'm a little bit more hesitant on just because I think Denver's rounding into form right now, and I think they need this win just as much as Cincy needs that win. Denver hosts late game in December. It's interesting, but I do think it's tough to bench Joe Burrow unless you have a much better option.
Absolutely. And I think even though I have him ranked ahead, I do think he'll have a better week. I would put Burrow. If my choices are Burrow or two, I'm going Burrow. This guy legitimately for early in the year was an MVP candidate, and you're not risking your fantasy life on starting Tua Tagovailoa over Joe Burrow.
Yeah. And I do like Tua, but we do have to factor in that Jalen Waddle is one of those players on the COVID list. He did not get removed. He will miss today's game. Does that push you away from Tua as a stream candidate? Because he does have Devontae Parker back. He did come back.
Right, yeah. I would say yes and no, because while he's without Waddle, who has become his favorite receiver, he does have Parker back. He does still have Mike Gesicki. They are getting Myles Gaskin back, and this is an odd week, so Myles Gaskin will probably have like about 40 points on my bench. So he does like dumping the ball off to the running backs. So there is some plus minus there for him without Waddle, but Devontae Parker does have a similar skill set to Waddle, so I think that it won't be a seamless transition, but it won't be as big of a deal as I think we might think.
Yeah, I tend to agree there. I also think Ben Roethlisberger is a capable stream candidate this week. As we pull up the list and we see him at 15, I think he's got a good matchup. I think he's got the weapons for it. And this is a must-win game for the Steelers. They cannot lose this game unless they want to pick 17 or 16. But I can't imagine they do. And Ben's going to go out there and do what Ben does, which is 18-22, which gets you by.
Yeah, I think this is a big deal game for Big Ben or for the Steelers because you can't really afford to drop to Tennessee, especially with what's coming up next week. Because I won't say you fully expect next week's going to be an uphill battle, but you are projecting that this is a 3-game losing streak if you can't beat Tennessee.
Yeah, no, this season's defined by this week for the Steelers because they have games to make up. They have to. They're coming from behind.
I'm a Steelers fan this week, right now, today, not this week, but today. It's a big one for the Chiefs as well. And
we will take your support this week because we desperately need it. But besides that, I'm trying to find one thing I'm wrong with right now. And to be honest, I kind of like the list you got here going, Deej. I think if I had to choose one of these names to jump into that top 12, I think it would be Ben Roethlisberger. But I think Trevor Lawrence has that opportunity this week in Houston. I do think they're going to run the heck out of the ball. But Trevor Lawrence has always been a talented player. And I think this is the bounce back week after the head coach getting fired type of thing. We see it all the time. So I do think there's capable streaming options this week in a week where you might be without Lamar Jackson. You might have played hesitant and not played Mahomes for some reason. I don't know. So I know someone who didn't play Mahomes because they wanted to play Stafford, and I was kind of laughing at them. But, yeah.
I mean, early on, that was kind of nerve-wracking because they weren't doing anything, and then that last 10 minutes of the game was, vintage the guy who's been in the league for 4 years. And Doug did just post in our live chat. I know this doesn't mean anything, can't really click it out of here, but off of what I'm showing you on the screen, but it's a COVID tracker. A lot of places have done a really good job making sure they keep track of guys on and off the COVID list. Fantasy Pros does a really good job with a list where they have if any guy who's ever tested positive for COVID, who's ever been on a list. So that one's a pretty good one as well. We'll try and get that link up on our Facebook page as well as if anybody gets added suddenly to the COVID list, we'll try and get you updated. And we've got 2 Monday night games and 2 Tuesday night games to look forward to. So chaos indeed. I'll be at work for one of the games, so that's unfortunate for me. But what happens.
And I'll be watching the Bulls over the Bears because
is that true?
And I would prefer to watch a team that will win versus a team that will not.
Does anybody still play for the Bulls at this point?
Yes, we are actually getting most of the team back.
Nice.
The Bulls are good this year, Deej.
That's because they have Io DeSumo.
Oh yeah, that's the change.
Yeah. And DeMar DeRozan being like an MVP candidate has
it's all Io DeSumo. I do love college basketball, but you know what I love more than college basketball?
Pretzels.
Now tailgating and partying before, during, and after my favorite college football and basketball games. And you know what? Mobile Party Experience has the hookup for all my tailgating needs. Mobile Party Experience offers solutions for all types of party throwers and goers. They have towable trailers that offer music, TVs, gaming, private bathrooms with running water, flushable toilets, beverage dispensers, coolers, grills and utensils, tables, chairs, and tents. But they don't have their own pretzels. You have to bring your own. They have all the amenities you could want or need to host a tailgate party or event. Find them at their website, my-mpx, or on Facebook at Mobile Party Experience. Sunday is still the best day at Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill. While your favorite jamokes aren't on the deck talking fantasy football, they are still one of the best places in the Quad Cities for your football viewing pleasures. Their back deck is ready to go for football season. The sides are up and the heat is on to protect you from Mother Nature. But not my mother. She's pretty scary. Where you can enjoy the Bears, Packers, or any of your favorite out-of-market teams. If outside isn't your thing, you can head on into their remodeled inside bar area and watch NFL Sunday Ticket on their numerous screens and play their adult video games. I hear they have the loosest slots in the Quad Cities. And Kavanaugh's is now joined by the food mechanic who's running their kitchen, so go ahead and get that checked out. That's Kavanaugh's Hilltop Bar and Grill, 1228 30th Street in Rock Island, the non-bubble home for fantasy's sake. Football season, we got a few weeks left. I know next week's kind of goofy with Christmas and New Year's after that, but there's still time to go to Van's Pizza Pub and Grill. Van's Pizza Pub and Grill, 3333 North Harrison Street in Davenport, is the best place to catch all of your favorite games, and there's still time to make it part of your Sunday routine. Start your meal off with their famous McGuire's Original Nachos or Bready Nuggets, then ask about one of their original QC-style pizzas. Or be your own quarterback and call an audible and create your own. The Vans crew will be sure your play call hits pay dirt every time. Vans Pizza Pub and Grill, 3333 North Harrison Street in Davenport. Come get served. And now we're joined my favorite time of the day. We're joined by Mr. Brian Craighead to talk a little DFS. Bye, Doug. We'll see you in 15 minutes. How you doing today, Brian?
Good morning. How are you?
Outstanding. It's a blistery day in the Midwest right now, so I'm glad to be in my nice temperature controlled office.
Yeah, it was awfully quick yesterday. We went over to visit my mom, and I kind of packed the night before, thinking, well, it's going to be warm. Well, it was till about noon. It was 64 degrees, and all of a sudden, within about an hour or two, it had dropped 20 degrees, and I didn't have long pants. So great preparation on my part, obviously.
I know you guys dealt with those bad storms last weekend. Was everything okay with you guys on Wednesday, or did you guys kind of get caught with that storm?
Thank God here we weren't, but kind of an unusual situation. A good friend from college that lives up in the part of Kentucky that was affected, he had both an aunt and another aunt's fiance die in that. So it was awful. But
in the previous last we got saved. On last weekend storm or on Wednesday?
Yeah, last weekend's in Kentucky. Okay. That was last Friday or Saturday, I think. But it was awful.
Yeah, we had the I didn't know if you guys got hit with that storm that came through Wednesday. So
yeah, we got lucky. We had all of ours like in February. We had really bad storms then and a lot of destruction and all that. But this particular both rounds we got saved. So
yeah, the storm that came through Wednesday, it was split into two pieces. Like there was one storm coming from the south, one coming from the north, and they separated right around our area. So we got some heavy winds, but that was it. Nothing real too bad.
Thank goodness. Yeah, it's been a really, I don't know, with it being December, I think they said this is basically one of the only times we've had any like tornado stuff going on in December. It's just a weird month for it to happen.
So I'll ask you guys both this question before we get into DFS. How awesome are we expecting Deontay Johnson to be today?
Oh, I love Deontay. I'll wear his jersey every Sunday, whether he does well or not. But I anticipate, I heard y'all talking about Big Ben. earlier, I anticipate a good game for them, so they're in my DFS lineup. But I also heard y'all talking about, we're down to 9 games on the main slate, so it's just a really, really weird Sunday. But I like the Steelers guys for sure.
I do have Deontay lined up right now, right in my wide receiver 1 spot for my DFS Yahoo lineup right now. I just decided to pull it up.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's also strange. The running backs, at least according to CBS rankings, the top 7 running backs for the week are not part of the main slate either. So we're really dealing with like a shelter of, not much normal talent sitting out there for us. So kind of got to go a little contrarian across your entire lineup. So.
Yeah, and Brian, my favorite question of my favorite day is, who are we stacking today?
Well, I heard y'all talk about Tua, and I'm actually on the Tua Devontae Parker in terms of a contrarian stack. And the other one that you priced up a little bit compared to that one, Dak has completely screwed the pooch the last couple of weeks. But just like I did last week, I'm going right back to Dak and CD. So because there's nobody else that I love in the across the line. It's kind of a weird week. So.
Is there any way you're bringing that back at all?
I'm okay just without a comeback player, to be perfectly honest.
Is Saquon just too expensive, or is that kind of just a deal where you're just kind of staying away?
Saquon has just not been great, and then with the quarterback situation the way it is, I prefer to stay away from it. Now, if you wanted to go cheap, somebody I don't particularly mind is Sterling Shepard. I think he's at 4,700, so he can be presumably their quarterback will complete a couple of passes anyway. So why not Sterling Shepard?
I'm gonna split up my common questions here, and then so we'll go to Michael first, and then to Brian to answer this question. Is there anybody who you're definitely putting in every 100% of your lineups today?
For DFS purposes?
Yeah.
Yeah, DFS purposes, I'm doing everything I can to get both CD Lamb and Kyler Murray. Not a stack, obviously, but CD Lamb seems like a great play this week. He avoids James Bradbury, which hasn't been the shutdown that it was last year. But CD Lamb in the slot should have a really nice day against that Giants defense that's been suspect all year long. And meanwhile, I got Kyler Murray. I don't really find too many QBs this week that I'm in love with playing. And Kyler Murray is one of those rare guys. I don't need to stack with him to have my top play. So I'm willing to pay up for Kyler Murray this week on the road in Detroit. And it seems like a great bounce-back narrative for Kyler Murray and the Cardinals right
there. As for me, I'm actually, like I said, the top running backs are out this week, or at least not part of the main slate. So I would go with Najee Harris, continue my Steelers theme. But on the cheap side, a couple of guys I feel like you almost got to have, because I know this is part of your next question, or one of your questions in regards to tight ends. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm not really in favor of the lower price tight ends. So 2 guys I think you need for cheap is Gabriel Davis and also Devontae Parker. You get those 2 guys for $8,000 to set the rest of your lineup from there, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a really good take. And so I know you're a big fan of Najee, but if I want to go high end other places, where am I kind of saving money at running back?
Let me think off the top of my head.
I know it's a lot easier to save money at wide receiver because you get those big guys, but at running back, are we going to like a what the heck's that guy's name in Houston? Oh my God, I'm blanking now.
I'll throw you a guy out there real quick.
Royce Freeman.
We all talked about Myles Gaskin just a minute ago, so I'm okay with him.
I think if you want a pretty cheap,
I love that face from Sicoli.
Well, you said I named 2 Houston running backs I wasn't in love with, and then you said Royce Freeman, so I had to naturally just cover my mouth to prevent anything from just bring up Houston in general. But that's not the point. I think Craig Reynolds could be an interesting play this week. We kind of saw what he did with that rock last week. Has some juice to him. He's got a tough matchup against the Cardinals, but maybe he'll catch some passes. You got Jamal Williams out, and you got DeAndre Swift out. They seem to like Craig Reynolds. This is Dan Campbell, who's going to love his running back no matter what. So I think he's a nice, cheap play this week that might go under the radar because no one knows the name Craig Reynolds still. I know I picked him up, and I'm unfortunately locking him into one of my lineups for my fantasy playoffs. But for DFS purposes, even being on the Lions, I think he's got an interesting amount of usage this week.
Well, the one
So
thing
Evans,
with him, he's going to get volume. So in fantasy, volumes one of the biggest factors anyway. So I see that altogether. They'll score a touchdown or two, and it could very well be him on the goal line.
as I'm sitting here setting a lineup, a stack that I found that kind of just snuck up on me that I kind of like is Josh Allen and Dawson Knox. They refound each other last week with 2 touchdowns in Buffalo, and I think that's an interesting. I know that's putting in the top salaried quarterback, but I'm really intrigued by that stack.
Yeah, I like that. My answer is going to be, if you're going to use Josh Allen, why not go with Gabriel Davis for somewhat cheaper? But I'm okay with Knox as well. Like I said, I don't love the lower price tight ends this week. I just don't.
Yeah, and that's the point I'd agree with. Where if you're going to pay up for a tight end, I don't mind stacking it with Josh Allen. Dawson Knox is a touchdown scorer, and that's what I want in my DFS. I want that high ceiling where maybe he catches 6-7 balls this week, and he's going to score. And he could score twice because he's Dawson Knox. That's what he's done this year. But I do like Gabriel Davis as a streaming candidate. I think a lot of people are talking him up this week, so ownership might be one of those popular sneaky plays, but I think he could still be, or not rostership, sorry. But I think that could be, I think stacking the bill this week makes a lot of sense, especially with Diggs dealing with Stephon Gilmore.
And the other thing that we haven't mentioned, Emmanuel Sanders being out, so that's why Gabriel Davis is such a potential factor, and also Dawson Knox. The target's got to go somewhere. Even though Sanders hasn't been great lately, there's still available targets here.
How many, like, what do you think the ownership percentage is going to be on a guy like James Robinson today?
To me, it should be high, but I don't know. The weird thing is, what do we really know, or what do we expect right after Urban Meyer's firing? I don't know. To me, I like him. I've got him in my lineup, but I don't know what others think for sure.
He's the type of guy that I'm locking into my lineup full well knowing he's going to be at 20 to 26% owned. That is absurdly high, and I honestly think he's going to be around no lower than the 18% because he's got every narrative going for him. Darrell Bevel's the perfect coach for him in the interim. Everyone loves James Robinson, but hasn't got to use him. Everyone hates Urban Meyer, and he's gone. It's Houston he's going against. You couldn't script it any better for James Robinson. And Carlos Hyde's out. You could not script it any better for James Robinson. So he's going to be a great play this week. He's going to be a highly owned play this week. But I think if I know he's going to be a top 10 play, top 5 play maybe, I kind of have a hard time not having him in my lineup.
I agree. And like I said, with all those top running backs being out, I could see him being a top 5 on the main slate anyway.
Is this a bounce back week, do we feel like, for the Bills defense?
Yeah, I've got the Bills defense too. So I built off the Bills defense. So I think they'll do well.
And so I know you've bounced around the question. You've answered it and bounced around. Who's your top pick at tight end? I know you said you're not a fan of the low end guys. You want to kind of grab some of those high salaried guys. Which guy is your guy that you're 100% putting in your lineup, or at least 25% of your lineups?
Well, I'll just say, as we just discussed, I don't like the lower price tight ends. Everybody loves Kittle, but that's the problem. He's sitting at 7,400, I think it is. So my guy, I'm kind of on the Dolphins this week, so I went Jasicki.
Yeah, if I had to pay up, I'd probably find a way to pay up for George Kittle, because if I'm paying up for a guy I'm confident in. But honestly, I'm taking Kyle Pitts right now. I'm not sure what he's going for right now on DraftKings. On Yahoo, he's only $14. So Kyle Pitts has an obscene amount of target share and receiving yards this season. The touchdowns have not come. It probably won't come this season. But if he scores a touchdown this week, he's got the athleticism to rip off a big play, and that's all I can ask for at a lower price guy.
So I'm going to really regret this, as I basically just put together a lineup of, guys on my fantasy team. And so I know I'm going to regret it, because I'm going to not only lose money, but my fantasy matchup as well. So we're just going to see how this works out for me. I guess if I put up like 300 points in fantasy football, I'm going to win some cash. So Pitts is actually decently priced at 5,500 on DraftKings. So he's a guy that we can definitely fit into a lineup. I actually, as you were saying, Kyle Pitts, I was clicking on his name in my flex position because I'm 100% going George Kittle this week. I think that we're in this position where we've talked a couple of times. I don't think you were on the show. We're in the glory days of tight ends right now, where there's actually viable tight ends, but nobody gets my blood pressure up. Nobody makes me more excited than, obviously my guy, obviously Travis Kelce. But when you think, man, this George Kittle guy just gets my blood pressure up. And I'm trying to refrain from saying not safe for work words here, but I just get excited to watch George Kittle play. And as you know, huge Chiefs fan. And I think Travis Kelce is probably the best tight end in the league, if not one of the greatest tight ends of all time. And I'm right here. We can talk about this in the tight end segment, Sicoli, because I know Doug has opinions on this. And Brian, you're more than welcome to come in and give opinion on this. I'm right smack dab in Iowa Hawkeye country as an Illini fan. And I've been looking for George Kittle autographed stuff because I just love George Kittle. And everybody thinks that because I love Travis Kelce, I think George Kittle's not good. That's not the point. I think that they're tight end 1 and tight end 2 by all stretch of the imagination. I love both those dudes. It's my favorite position. And I've really gotten this segment off the rails here. And I apologize, but let's put George Kittle on our lineups today.
And I'll say this, we just talked about 1 and 2, and this might be a little painful, but I'll go for 1 and 1A. They're both awesome. That's fine. Those guys are great. I mean, both of them are phenomenal. And I think that you can put them side by side what they're able to do. And I understand that when you talk about overall, Kittle's a tremendous blocker. And I think that because of what Kelce does in the passing game, we really underrate what he is able to do as a blocker, because I think you can watch. I watch all 17 now Chiefs games, but I see a lot more Travis Kelce than a lot of people do. But you can watch a given Travis Kelce game and see him make a block that impacts the game, whether it's on, you don't have so much success in screen games and end arounds and stuff like that without having a tight end who can hold his own blocking. Yeah, they're both just off the charts. Like you said, Kelce could be one of the best of all time, but Kittle's right behind that. They're both going to go down as top 10 all time.
The only thing that bothers me about Kittle is availability. He's had these nagging injuries because he plays hard. And I'm not going to say he's soft because he's not. He plays hard, and it ends up it's same thing with Gronk. All the injuries that Gronk's had, it just comes from their playing style. But it's fun to watch, and I think we're incredibly blessed that we get to watch George Kittle and Travis Kelce and Rob Gronkowski even play the game of football.
Totally agree.
Guys got my blood pressure going. I wish I was wearing my Apple Watch because I know my heart rate's up.
We didn't mean to excite you that much on a Sunday morning, but
you got my blood pressure going.
Thanks for joining us for DFS. Are you gonna pop back in towards the end?
I can. Do you want me to come on about 11:15?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're more than welcome.
I'll join back then. Y'all enjoy the next 45 minutes.
All right, we'll see you soon, Brian. I went 4 minutes over. I'm going to get these commercials quickly out of here. I love tight ends, Sicoli. It's just so fun.
I picked up on that. It's something subtle.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite position in the game because they're large fellas who just
they do a little bit of everything.
It's amazing. And Travis Kelce's part of the reason I fell in love with the Kansas City Chiefs. So,
well, there you go. It's as high praise as you can get.
Well, I'm going to read these commercials, I promise. My fantasy football life started with Larry Johnson, and then it transitioned to Jamal Charles, and then it transitioned to Travis Kelce. So being a Chiefs fan was just a natural fit for me.
Yeah, you always had that top 5 play. It was what's his name? Oh my God, Arians. It was Arians for me that got me going
for sure. Located in the Belgium neighborhood of 7th Street in Moline, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill is home of some of the Quad City's best food and drink specials. On Sundays, there's no better place to be. Clint's is serving up 75-cent wings and $4 Bloody Marys all day. And your favorite team playing on those out-of-market games? You'll never miss a second of the action on one of their 10 screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. And after you've had your wing and bloody fix, finish off your football watching experience with one of their famous Quad City style pizzas. And folks, they know pizza. They've been spinning QC style pies for the last 22 years. So make Clint part of your Sunday football routine. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill, 7th Street in Moline. Who doesn't need a solid handcuff on their fantasy squad? Grab a bite to eat at Clint's Draft House while watching the noon games, then head on over across the Moline Rock Island border to the corner tap for some libations during the 3 o'clock games. Every Sunday is fun day at the corner with $3 tall boys, Bloody Marys, Jack Daniels, and $2 PBR drafts. Head into the corner tap, 4018 14th Avenue, Rock Island, and get into the end zone. Hi, Doug.
Hola. First off, I have 2 comments.
Sorry, I went a little overboard with my tight end talk.
One, I missed the DFS part because we seem to be moved into DJ soapbox. And 2, in the prior commercial break, I love how that you're so worried about mispronouncing slots that you've now emphasized loosest.
Probably true. Hey, we did touch on this briefly in the DFS segment. Officially inactive is Emmanuel Sanders.
Okay. Here you go. All right, so let's take a look here at what we've got going on with said running backs. I don't have too much of a problem with this. Where is... Yeah, we'll wait till this next page when we actually get to him. Yeah, this actually looks fairly solid to me, as much as I hate to admit it.
Yeah, I think we had a couple of these guys had those midweek scares, like Leonard Fournette. We started to wonder, is Leonard Fournette going to get out there? But he got back on the practice field Friday. He's fully expected to play, so I think you can lock him in as an RB1 this week, just so he's been all year. James Conner was somebody that my friend of mine was asking me, like, what can I expect from James Conner this week? He's missed a couple of practices. You got Chase Edmonds coming off the IR. And I told him I think you can expect what we saw earlier in the season, just a little bit more in Conner's favor. Like a 60-40 split, which gets it done against Detroit, is what I'm expecting for James Conner. I'm not sure if you guys have a differing opinion on this.
I agree 100%. I'll slip Nick a message here real quick, asking him what the Sims look like, because we were talking a little bit about Henderson and Michelle a little bit yesterday, but I'd like to know what the Sims are saying on that split. I'm gonna slip him a text real quick and see what the Sims are saying. But I on the Fournette thing, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say on the somewhat bright side of that is that game got pushed to Tuesday at least. So you do have a couple more days to see how the situation shapes out. Anybody could be lifted off the COVID list at any time, it feels like. So maybe that develops.
With Fournette, I would have naturally, had he had a full week of practice, he would have probably been sitting right behind Najee on these rankings. I did knock him back a little bit because I think there will be a little bit more of a split between him and Rojo this week, as well as I think that you might see a little more Darwin Thompson as the passing down back for them with Gio Bernard out. Bernard caused an interception and they started not playing him as much. So maybe Darwin Thompson gets a little bit of a bump there. So I think we'll see a bit more of a split. I know Fournette's been just all purpose which has been insane. Catching, I think you had the stat last week that he had caught like 8 or more passes in 5 straight games or something like that.
He's been seeing an obscene amount of targets. It's something I could pull it up right now. He's caught, if my computer loads, he's caught. He had 4 straight weeks of 6 or more receptions, leading into last week when he only caught 4 balls on 7 targets, which is still great volume for a running back that's going to get 15 carries on the ground.
Yeah, crazy, and it's not a surprise as things were shaking out for me doing this. I felt like David Montgomery was a target at the trade deadline in a lot of leagues because of the way their matchups set up. And so the fact that we're putting, he's been pretty good since he's gotten back from injury. and he's just setting up for. I mean, David Montgomery could be a league winner for somebody.
Again.
Yeah.
We've been through this already. But the Erin Jones, I want to quickly point out Erin Jones, who it was a weird week last week. I'm not sure if you obviously did catch the game because it was against your Bears, but eight touches. He had 8 touches, just 5 carries last week in a game that wasn't totally out of hand until late. They did not want to give him the ball too much. I don't know what to make of Erin Jones this week. He has 5 carries. If he doesn't score those 2 touchdowns on 8 touches, it doesn't get it done for you. So Erin Jones is a dicey guy this week. You're not going to bench Erin Jones. He's too good of a player. But he's been outtouched by A.J. Dillon in 2 straight games. He was outtouched last week coming off a bye week. It makes you wonder a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of weird splits in the NFL right now too. As I think outside of I think these top 9 are definitely the 1-1s of their team. They're definitely the RB1s and going to get at the bulk of the touches at the running back position. I think that Mike Davis has actually been out carrying Cordero Patterson, but obviously he gives you that PPR bump. It's been weird with Davis. It's so weird to jump on there and see Mike Davis get double-digit carries again, especially with how good Patterson has been. And that's where it's so important to get a guy who's going to get the bulk of the touches. And now you're thinking about that 8-9 area, Fournette and Jacobs, guys who are now they're passing down backs for their teams, which I don't think that we would have ever imagined Leonard Fournette passing down back.
No, I definitely wasn't. I know I took him an hour for Fantasy Sake League, and I immediately tried to trade him away. But I'm glad I didn't, and now I'm sitting here in the playoffs with him, and he's going to stay in my lineup accordingly.
Doug, we did mention this last week briefly when we were here. Leonard Fournette, friend of the show, and now he's good.
Oh, okay.
Because just about how the first year of the show we just had every week rapid fire where Leonard Fournette score a touchdown as a joke, and now that's a yes almost every week.
Yeah, I mean that was the joke back then too. So, all right, number 13 with Mr. James Robinson. All right, so big news of the week. Mr. Khan finally came to his senses, got rid of that joker down in Jacksonville, and now we can actually have some decent football to be played in Florida. So what do we think that the removal of one Urban Meyer will do for A, James Robinson, and B, this entire offense?
Yeah, I definitely think this is a significant bump for James Robinson. He was a guy who people were going after because he was an RB1, and all of a sudden he just ended up on Urban Meyer's crap list. I know he had some fumble issues, which is fine. Go ahead, bench a guy for having fumble issues, wear it. Say why you're benching him, not that the running back coach chooses the rotation. The guy's been one of the most productive backs in the league this year, and you benched him for fumbling. Again, fine. Don't blame it on the running back coach. I think this is a significant bump for James Robinson. He's going to see the kinds of touches those guys on that first list are this week, and he's playing Houston. I wouldn't be surprised to see him finish as, a top 6 running back this week.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him as a top 3 running back this week because I'm all in on James Robinson this week. Because I'm not going to think about Jacksonville how I've seen Jacksonville because that was Urban Meyer's Jacksonville. We see continuously with less emotional baggage head coaches that when the head coach leaves, when he gets fired mid-season, that team rallies around the new guy over the next week. They really do. They're going to do the same without Urban Meyer, who nobody seemed to like on that team. So I think we have Darrell Bevell stepping in. He's the offensive coordinator. He was also the coordinator in Seattle, in Minnesota, in Detroit. In each of those stops, there was one running back. It was Minnesota. It was AP. In Seattle, it was Marshawn Lynch. In Detroit, it was Adrian Peterson again. When he was a dusted old man, he ran it with one guy and he got it done on the goal line. I think that's what we can expect from James Robinson this week. I think that's going to be a great play. I put him in my top 12 for sure, but I think he's definitely in your lineups regardless.
I think we have a really good week of running backs here because I'm willing to start anybody in my top 2021 guys. I know Michelle gives me a little bit of a pause now that Henderson's been activated from the COVID list, so I'd bump him down. But, I would start Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Deontay Freeman, Myles Gaskin with confidence this week. Even Devontae.
Dynasty 101, Javonte Williams. Dynasty 101, Javonte Williams.
Yeah. The future of the NFL.
It's just really, really good, man. He's just really good.
I'm wondering, that this is a personal question here. I'm wondering if Sicoli follows Javonte Williams on Instagram, and on the weekends he rocks grandma sweaters as well. And that's why Sicoli loves him so much.
I like that theory.
You know what? You can say whatever you want. All I know is that I'm Javonte Williams stan over here, and you can make up anything. You can try to slander it, but the fact remains is that Javonte Williams is going to be a top 3 dynasty back, and he's going to be that for quite some time.
Doug, have you noticed how often he rubs his arms like as if he's cold, and it's like he's missing that sweater. He's like missing the protection of. It's like I don't know.
It's Linus's blanket. It's what it is.
Yeah, it could be. I was also gonna go with like a womb joke here.
No, don't go with the womb joke.
I was gonna go with the womb joke, and I decided not to.
Thank God.
Yeah, this is fun fact. This is my last Sunday show for
ever.
To be fair, there's been a couple more jokes, but you did wear this last week as well.
Listen, I have no problem with that jacket. I will stand behind it. I'm a big fan of that jacket.
How are we feeling about? I know we're past time. My fault because I juiced up about tight ends. How are we feeling here about guys like Miles Sanders, Chuba? Even I know you hate Royce Freeman here, but how are we feeling about guys like Miles Sanders, Chuba, even Jeff Wilson Jr. here?
Pollard is active today. BT Dubs.
Pollard is active, yes.
Yep. Expected to be on somewhat of a snap count, but he'll still be out there, which it leaves me in a tough situation myself. I'm staring down a league where I'm choosing between Chuba, who I'm doing everything I can not to start this week. It's just with Cam Newton. Cam Newton's on Carolina. When Cam Newton's on your team, he can steal goal line carries. He does it every year. He does it on whatever team he's on. He can easily do it for Chuba. We saw it last week too. He happened to fall in the end zone on 10 for 30. But if he doesn't do that, you're only getting 9 points there anyway. He's not going to get done in the passing game. So it's really a dicey play. I don't really want to touch these second-tier guys, but I'm choosing between Tony Pollard and Chuba Hubbard. And then I'm genuinely looking at Jawan Jennings and Ricky Seals-Jones as alternatives because I really don't want to play either of them.
That's not good.
It's not a fun week for fantasy football in a lot of circumstances. The Adam Thielen injury, the CMC injury, it has not treated my team super well.
I love. I do want to mention before we go to commercial here, Jordan had popped in about Rashad Penny carrying him last week. Basically, on our advice last week. You're welcome, Jordan. It was kind of funny. He gets in the end zone twice. His fullback brother scores a touchdown last week. They're definitely going to be on their grandma's list for sweaters for Christmas. I mean, 100%.
It was a good week for the pennies. Absolutely.
I'm really upset that sold my joke there at your expense.
I'm at this point. I have to be numb with it and roll with the punches, or this show is not even going to be about fantasy football anymore. So
this show is never about fantasy football.
It really isn't.
It feels like you're really sweating it out over there, Sicoli.
Sweating it out. I am very comfortable right now, staring down numerous lineups that are just bound to lose.
He's very comfortable, like a warm fuzzy sweater.
You know what? It's fine. Next commercial break, maybe I'll pop something on. It's fine. But yeah, I really wouldn't try to touch too many of these guys. If I had to choose one to jump into the next year, it honestly might be Amir Abdullah, the guy on the last name on this list, or maybe he catches enough passes to then fall in the end time.
I think Sanders is RB2 range.
Sure. Sanders is always going to be RB2 range based on volume. But, I mean, Jalen Hurts being out there, not Minshew, I do think it hurts a little bit. And Sanders is a guy that can leave the field at any time. So,
yeah. I know. Looking at that list, it's really hard to find a viable running back option. But you know what's not hard to find? Bad Boys Pizza, because they're now serving in 3 different locations: Moline, Davenport, and downtown Davenport at River Music Experience. And their restaurant and bar stays open late, not only in the weekends, but weekdays too. Bad Boys specializes in Quad City style pizza and daily specials, so be sure to keep an eye out for those. They also offer food carryout and pizza delivery options at your convenience. They have a full bar at all 3 locations with 24 taps in Moline, 32 taps in Davenport. You broke me, Sicole. And 20 in downtown Davenport. They also host exciting events such as Quad City Storm parties, NFL Sunday ticket giveaways, and other sports viewing parties. Bad Boys always has the coldest beer, and the atmosphere is always welcoming. For great people, drinks, and Quad City style pizza, choose Bad Boys. Durham Remodeling has been serving the Quad Cities area since 1973. With nearly 50 years of excellence on their track record, you'll see why it's so easy to trust their experts when it comes to all of your home improvement projects. Durham Remodeling's work is 100% guaranteed, so you can rest assured that you're getting the best service around. Call 309-786-6715 for all your roofing, siding, flooring, windows, and painting needs. That's Durham Remodeling, 309-786-6715. It's Sunday Fun Day over at Frick's Tap. Iowa's second oldest bar is guaranteed to have your favorite team on one of their 13 TV screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. Get on into Frick's now, where they will be joined by Smoked Out Smokehouse every Sunday. And boy, does that menu look great. Barbecue smoked ribs, pork chops, wings, you name it, you can get it during your football game over at Frick's Tap. So for Frick's sake, head into Frick's Tap, 1402 West 3rd Street, Davenport. Yeah. Nicole broke me during this.
Did I? See, I thought you were just so passionate about Bad Boy Pizza, to be honest. But I do have some totally fantasy relevant breaking news right here. Zane Gonzalez, the Panthers kicker, is being helped off the field during pregame warmups.
Oh no.
Hefty bomb from Sicole.
I'm giving all credit to Joe Person, who's a beat reporter for the Panthers. And obviously, you know, if you're playing the Panthers kicker, you probably have bigger problems. Hopefully Zane Gonzalez is okay. But that's something to look out for in terms of if you're gambling on that game, not having a kicker changes the spread drastically.
Definitely. That could be a little bit of a bump for your running backs and wide receivers in Carolina as well, because they're going to be going for it on 4th down a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they were all prepared to do beforehand, because I don't think field goals are going to win Carolina the game. But it's absolutely true, is that even in the first quarter you might be seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But wide receivers, man, what a turnaround for T. Higgins, a guy that really struggled in the first half. Good to see him in the wide receiver 1 here, because he's just a talent.
Yeah, he's kind of like blown the F up since their bye week. He's just been getting hammered with targets, and it's kind of crazy to me that we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals as a team that can not only have a top 12 running back and wide receiver, but 2 top 12 receivers.
Yeah, I mean the Bengals. It was in the realm of outcomes, but I don't think anyone, even the staunchest of Jamar Chase truthers, saw this coming. I love Jamar Chase. I was on the record doubting him this season as a rookie, but man, has he proved me wrong in every single way. So you're not benching Jamar Chase if you have him. It is worth noting that, you know, he did score twice last week, but before that, he was on a good 5-6 week streak of being a middling wide receiver 2, maybe a 3 as a flex. So I think it just comes down to touchdowns, and Jamar Chase is pretty dang good about getting those. But he's a guy that has a little bit more validity than a lot of guys on this list.
I'm trying to pull up the statistics here. How often Godwin and Evans both blow up? Who's your guy that you're definitely, if you have to choose between those guys?
Full PPR, it's easily Chris Godwin. He's the guy that has Tom Brady's eye in the slot. He gets a lot more receptions than Evans, but Evans is, as we saw a couple weeks ago with that jumping spectacular catch, he can high point anything. He's a great candidate to get a touchdown in an offense that scores an awful lot of touchdowns and almost always through the air. So
Yeah.
I think you could play both, obviously. It's just Chris Godwin has a higher floor. Mike Evans might have a higher ceiling, but the ceilings are pretty similar. So I think that's why you got it right by putting Chris Godwin's a couple spots higher. I think it's just a matter of risk.
Right. Isn't it? This top five is kind of crazy as with Kupp, Deontay Johnson, and Deebo Samuel. I don't think that we would have projected this to begin the season. Oh, bicycle. Didn't even joke about his grandma's sweater and he left us.
He clearly is mad about Deebo.
Yeah, I didn't say anything bad about Deontay Johnson even.
I know.
Not sure what just happened there. I'm back. I
Probably a little extra static from your grandma's sweater.
I was going to make that same joke.
Okay. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. All I see. All right. Whatever. You got me rattled now, Deej. You got me rattled. But what doesn't have me rattled is seeing Deebo Samuel up here because it's just such a good sight. We haven't seen Deebo Samuel at the end of a season in ever. I mean, it's normally he misses these later games, so it's nice to have him on the field. But what's really interesting is that Deebo Samuel has caught he's seen 7 targets. He's caught 3 balls in his last 3 matchups. That's it. It's just that he has 27 carries in that span. So that's what gets it done. It's strange to look at. It's between him and Cordero Patterson. I'm not sure what changed in the NFL this year, but those rushing, it's being scripted the ball. I think that's always important is to recognize what touches are valuable and which ones aren't. And when a coach makes an effort to get you out there, to get those Deebo Samuels, those Cordero Pattersons in space, those touches are valuable no matter the offense.
Yeah, they are facilitating touches. I think that Deebo's ability in the run game has kind of lessened the value of whoever's getting the running back touches for San Francisco. And I think some of that's a little bit with Mostert going out early on, but Deebo's definitely been explosive.
Yeah, and I think they've needed Deebo to pick up that slack. I mean, like you said, Mostert's been out. Trey Sermon, who didn't really put it together this year, but he's also on the IR. Elijah Mitchell's dealing with some knee swelling. He's missed time at points this year. And they're stuck with Jeff Wilson, who was coming off an injury of his own, started the year on the PUP, and Kyle Juszczyk. And that's really not the duo you want to run the ball with. And Shanahan says we won't them. Just because they're the next guy up doesn't mean they have to be the guy that's getting the ball. So
right,
it's just good coaching. I think Shanahan gets a bit of a bad rap with that, but I think that's just good coaching to get your best player the ball.
I mean, a part of the bad rap that he gets, and I know you're a little young for this one, but is the way his dad managed running backs as well.
Sure.
You're a little young for that one.
I'm not, though. I'm not.
Children.
Screw Mikey Pittman. And Jordan, I do have, I know you popped in here and asked, I have DK is wide receiver 13 here. And I don't think Ramsey's been activated off the COVID list yet. So there is maybe he won't play. And I don't know what his vaccination. Huh?
I would say that'd push him up then.
Yeah, and I don't know what his vaccination status is, so I don't know.
I do have news to that as of an hour ago that he tested negative and will play this week.
Okay, so he will play. I still think with even with Ramsey on him, he is a viable RB2 here.
Yeah, I honestly, he's not a must start to me. He's not at all, and he's a guy. No, I think honestly, I don't know what better options I play over him, but I think
that's what I'm saying. Can you name 5 guys on this list that you would play over right here?
I'd play Amari Cooper over him. Okay. I think I'd play Amari Cooper. I think I'd play Darnell.
Block a couple different times.
I think I'll play Darnell Mooney. I think I'll play Devontae Parker. I think I'd play Chase Claypool. And I think I'll play Amari Cooper.
Okay.
I think I'd line those guys up. I mean, DK Metcalf has not got it done. If you take the name out of it, he's scored double-digit fantasy points once since week 9. So, I mean, the Rams with Jalen Ramsey, that's a tough matchup. That's a tough ask. And Tyler Lockett going out, that doesn't help DK Metcalf to me. In fact, it just makes him focus on the only passing game option.
He did have 5 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first matchup. I'm not sure what the coverage stats for Ramsey looks like there. I'm sure I can find that somewhere on the internet. But he was successful the last time. But as you said, he's been pretty atrocious since their bye.
Yeah, it's just not a risk that I want to run if I can help it. But not everyone has better options. I understand that full-heartedly.
And so I did sneak to the second page here. I'm looking here, 23 and 26. If you had Hopkins and you're starting an Arizona wide receiver, which one are you looking at?
I'll play Christian Kirk. I think he's the guy that has the biggest opportunity for a big play. Obviously, Rondale Moore might be the popular name, but he just doesn't get enough touches. I think Christian Kirk would be, they can find him downfield to get that done. The Cardinals tend to spread the ball around, so there's really not one person that steps up. But if I had to choose one, it's Christian Kirk.
Hey, did I miss it, or where is Brandon Cooks on this?
He was right after DK. We were more focused on DK. He was number 14.
Okay, I missed
15. That. Sorry.
Yeah, I like Brandon Cooks this week. I think it's a good matchup. I do think this is, like I said, a huge bounce back for Jacksonville. I think that goes beyond James Robinson. I think the entire team's going to play with a purpose this week, and that kind of scares me away from the only Houston option you could kind of trust this year.
I think the thing we didn't touch here too is DJ Moore and how consistent he's been this year.
He's so talented. Oh my god.
Yeah, and he's had that week 9, 10, 8, 9, 10. So 8 he had 9.9, 9 he had 7.6, and week 10 he had 6.4. But other than that, he's been pretty consistent this year.
Yeah, he's just, the only thing holding him back and has been holding him back is a QB. He's just a really, really talented guy that I've been trying to get my hands on in multiple dynasty leagues. And the ceiling just hasn't been there because he has, 1, 2, 3, 4 touchdowns on the year. And that's just because the offense is putrid. It's bad to watch. And that's always been his issue of a bad QB and a bad offense. And he's never scored more than 4 touchdowns in a year because this offense isn't high scoring. So if they can figure it out, if they can get a QB, DJ Moore's ceiling is a top 5 play on the year. But
now they have no kicker, so that's even
now they have no kicker, which is why if they lose, that's why.
All right, Doug, let's take us to commercial.
All righty.
We're still chasing that 4 minutes that I talked about George Kittle.
All right, where are we? What time is it? Okay, found the break. All right, here we go. Located in the Belgian neighborhood of 7th Street in Moline, Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill is home to some of the Quad City's best food and drink specials. On Sundays, there's no better place to be. Clint's is serving up 75-cent wings and $4 Bloody Marys all day. And your favorite team playing in those out-of-market games? You'll never miss a second of the action on one of their 10 screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. And after you've had your wing and bloody fix, finish your football watching experience off with one of their famous Quad City style pizzas. And folks, they know pizza. They've been spinning QC style pies for the last 22 years. So make Clint's part of your Sunday football routine. Clint's Draft House Pizza and Grill, 7th Street in Moline. And who doesn't need a solid handcuff on their fantasy squad? Grab a bite to eat at Clint's Draft House while watching the noon games, and then head on over across the Moline Rock Island border to a corner tap for some libations during the 3 o'clock games. Every Sunday is fun day at the corner with $3 Tall Boys, Bloody Marys, Jack Daniels, and $2 PBR drafts. Head to the corner tap, 4018 14th Avenue, Rock Island, and get into the end zone. But
I do want to say while I was pulling up the COVID tracker as well, as I typed in, because Jimmy Smith for the Ravens was just added to the COVID list. But as I was pulling this up, the first thing that comes up was, can you get COVID from sexual intercourse? And they said that no, especially married men. So this inactive list does not list. Huh?
Nothing.
Well, luckily for me, is unlike your wife, my wife does not watch our show. So unfortunately, this the inactive list does not list people who have who have tested positive for COVID. So you'd have to check that out on your own. The Cowboys are without Tyron Smith. That's the real big fantasy impact guy. The Giants, obviously, no Daniel Jones. So we'll get to see former Chicago Bear Mike Glennon again. The Texans, no Justin Reed again. I'm surprised he hasn't been waived yet. The Jaguars, as we said before, no Carlos Hyde. The Titans, as far as fantasy relevant guys, Roger Saffold's not playing, but I do want to say this guy's name because it's awesome. They will be without cornerback Jack Rabbit Jenkins. The Steelers, no
terrible. He's not even fast. He's absolutely terrible. Terrible.
Why is he terrible?
He gets burned all the time.
The Steelers are without Dwayne Haskins, just their quarterback. No Anthony McFarland, who I was definitely wrong on being a breakout player at any point. The Jets, no Ty Johnson, no LaMichael Pirine, no George Fant, who's a better tight end than he is an offensive lineman. Dolphins are without former Chicago Bear Adam Shaheen. Nobody really fantasy relevant there. The Cardinals, no Eno Benjamin, no Trace McSorley. The Lions, once again, no DeAndre Swift. No David Blau, third quarterback there. Panthers, no AJ Boye, as Sicoli pointed out to us. They will probably also be without their kicker, Zane Gonzalez. The Bills, no Manny Sanders, no Zach Moss, and no AJ Epinesa, former Iowa Hawkeye. And again, like I said, Jimmy Smith has been added to the COVID list, so he will be out as well for the Ravens. And you cannot get COVID from sexual intercourse, so we've got you covered there.
That's what people can't.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Of course you can't. It's like
go.
Oh my god.
Now
I just blew Doug's wife's mind. Doug's wife's mind. The only thing getting blown in that house today. We've gone off the rails, and it's my fault.
Go. Oh my! If this show had rails, we would have been off of them a long time ago.
I know she's in a different room, and you can still hear her laughing her butt off.
Yes. All day long now. She's going to be like this.
You're kidding.
No, he's not. Okay. Yes. We're long gone.
But back to fantasy.
Yes, please. Sicoli, save us.
No, it's Titans are always a dicey one to pick from. I think, as you see those tiers without having the lines themselves of, you have the guys you want to play, or the guys you are going to play, the guys you are okay with playing, and the guys you really don't want to play. So I think you see those tiers. I think you're going to be locking in the top 9 of these into your lineup without much question. I don't think many people are benching those top 9, given the.
Are you worried about Fryermuth?
I'm not. I was going to say I'm perfectly fine playing Pat Fryermuth because he's got now Eric Ebron's out of the equation. I said they should have cut him months ago, if not years ago. They didn't listen to me, and now they're paying him $4.5 million to do nothing. But that's neither here nor there because Pat Fryermuth has the role. So Fryermuth can be played this week in a pretty solid matchup against Tennessee, where they should be throwing the ball. But I mean, Noah Fant, Tyler Conklin, like I'm locking in those top 9. I'm totally fine playing Pat Fryermuth as my 10, and then Noah Fant and Tyler Conklin is where I'm starting to. I might be looking elsewhere. I'd look at Ricky Seals-Jones and give him another shot against Philadelphia, although that's a dicey matchup on Tuesday.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, you see that's a cliff for me, that 11 mark with Noah Fant, because it really – you see Albert O really taking that role this year. Albert O has really been splitting into that workload that Noah Fant used to have.
And I kind of expected that would be if Drew Lock was playing type of deal, but it had obviously Drew Lock not good. So
yeah, and shout out to Andrew Fitzgerald, just commented as well. the Fant's been dealing with an ankle injury for some time now. He's been on and off those injury reports, never, loud enough that it's really been talked about. But those type of things, it's those reports that in 1-2 months, we're going to hear, I was playing through, a torn ligament in my foot, and then he gets surgery, and everything's supposed to be okay. So if it comes out after the season that Noah Fant really needed some help with this and he hasn't really dealt with it, wouldn't surprise me one bit. It would also make sense to what we've seen.
Are we advancing?
We only have one page of tight ends here.
I never remember how many pages of stuff that we got.
I did want to. We were, yes, as Andrew Fitzgerald said, Gasecki with no. Okay, as soon as I can get that pop, Gasecki with no Waddle, also money. So
what about Mick Gesicki?
He retired, Doug. He retired.
Okay, just checking.
So, Doug, I posted this on Facebook. We were talking about this a little during the DFS segment, which made you puke. Where would you kind of put Kittle and Kelsey in regards to like the greatest tight ends of all time? Obviously, that's Rob Gronkowski, but
you spelled Tony Gonzalez wrong.
I disagree.
I think you mispronounced Heath Miller.
Mike Ditka?
He's the original GOAT, yes.
Listen, if Kittle can find his way to the ring, I think that really adds to his argument. I think he's up there in that top 6 range already. I struggle to put him right next to Kelsey or someone of the like, just because he hasn't really been in the playoffs too often. 2 times in his career? 3 times maybe? 1 time as a series contender. So, I don't use rings as the end all be all whatsoever, because there's plenty of great players that have not got that. Shout out Dan Marino. But it's
LeBron's the GOAT.
In terms of watching him, it's tough to argue that there's more than 5 tight ends ever that have done more than he's doing right now. It's just ridiculous to watch. And what we're watching right now was crazy. This isn't even his best year. What we saw 2 years ago was unbelievable to watch. But
are we talking about Kittle here?
We're talking about Kittle here.
Yeah.
Were you talking about Kelsey?
I think no. You can say the same. You can say the same thing about Kelsey though as well. Is he's in the midst of a very good year, and it's not even going to be his second best season of all time. And I think the stat that really blew my mind that I saw is Travis Kelce has more consecutive 1,000-yard seasons at 6 right now than Terrell Owens had in his entire career, which was 5.
It's a pretty common saying of the best thing you can have is consistency, and being consistently great. I mean, I'd put Kelsey as my number 2, and Tony Gonzalez is fantastic. It's no slight to Tony Gonzalez to put Kelsey as my number 2.
Yeah, the argument you hear a lot, and Doug kind of threw it out there, and Doug says it a lot to me too, was how can Travis Kelce be one of the greatest of all time when he's not even the greatest chief tight end of all time? But I do think that Travis Kelce is very special. One of the stats they threw out there after he eclipsed 1,000 yards was he has 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. The second most 1,000-yard seasons at tight end, period, is 4. No tight end other than Travis Kelce's had more. And yeah, Jordan popped in here. Gronk is probably the GOAT. I will say that, in my opinion, I love Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's probably the greatest tight end ever to play between the goal lines. But Gronk, his ability to score touchdowns is sets him apart. So I think if you're wanting guys from the 1 to the 1, I want Travis Kelce. If you want a guy to get in the end zone, Gronk's definitely the GOAT there.
Oh, 1-to-1, it's still Gronk for me. I'm sure, as Brian can attest, I saw him throw Steelers safeties in the run for 30 yards more times than I could count. And it was the most infuriating thing of the last 10 years for me. But, I think right now that might be what Gronk is, but 5-10 years ago, as I'm sure everyone here remembers, Gronk was doing whatever he wanted on the field. It didn't matter where he was. If he wanted a first down, he was getting that first down. It could have been 3rd and 20. So it was just, he's the GOAT right now. I don't see that changing anytime soon. At least until Kyle Pitts in 10 years.
All right, Doogie, take us to our last commercial break here.
Yes, and of course we cannot be remiss if we didn't mention greatest tight end of all time, J.J. Watt, who is
Mike
easy to
Vrabel.
find.
Mike Vrabel.
Just like Bad Boys Pizza isn't hard to find. Now serving three different locations: Moline, Davenport, and downtown Davenport at the River Music Experience. Their restaurant and bar stay open late, not only on the weekends but weekdays too. We need to rewrite that sentence. Bad Boys specializes in Quad City style pizzas and daily specials, so be sure to keep an eye out for those. They also offer food, carryout, and pizza delivery options at your convenience. They have a full bar at 3 locations with 24 taps in Moline, 32 taps in Davenport, and 20 in downtown Davenport. They also host exciting events such as Quad City Storm, NFL Sunday ticket giveaways, and other sports viewing parties. Bad Boys always has the coldest beer, and the atmosphere is always welcoming. For great people, drinks, and Quad City-style pizza, choose Bad Boys. Serving the Quad City since 1872, Frick's Tap is always a great choice for your Sunday fun day activities. Iowa's second oldest bar is guaranteed to have your favorite team on one of their 13 TV screens with NFL Sunday Ticket. Get on into Frick's now, where they will be joined by Smoked Out Smokehouse every Sunday. And boy, does that menu look great. Barbecue smoked ribs, pork chops, wings, you name it, you can get it during your football game over at Frick's. So for Frick's sake, head into Frick's, 1402 West 3rd Street, Davenport. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great job, Doug.
I do have another Panthers kicking update that everyone's dying to hear. I know.
Oh, yes. And it's probably the same one I saw, and it's great. So go ahead.
The wide receiver Brandon Zylstra, hopefully Zylstra, has a kicking tee, and a linebacker, Frankie Louvu, and running back Reggie Bonifant, who you might remember last year with some long runs, is also practicing kicking off. So, I mean, it looks like the punter, Lachlan Edwards, used to be on the Jets, is going to be doing kickoffs. But as for kicking, that could be a wide receiver out there. So, are we throwing Brandon Zylstra? Zylstra. Are you throwing Brandon Zylstra into your lineup?
I'm gonna get a 10-cent. I'm gonna get a 10-cent lineup DFS going and see if I can throw. Oh, we don't do kickers, and somebody FanDuel throw him in a lineup.
Oh, I've definitely got him in mind. So,
all righty, let's start with the questions. First up, Jordan Rangel and his pile of questions. We thought you were going to have all bye weeks this week. Well, you got questions. All right, Kirk Cousins or Russell Wilson?
I'll go Cousins.
Yeah, I think he's just trolling us with that.
Yeah, Cousins.
I'll play Cousins.
Yeah, same. Darrell Henderson or Dante Foreman? Donta Foreman.
You've got to go Henderson.
Yeah.
To me.
This is one of those circumstances where it's close enough. I'm going to play the guy that's playing right now. I'll play Donta Foreman.
I'm gonna say what Nick would say here, and I'm gonna say if you're chasing points, I go with Henderson. Or if you're trying to hold the lead, I go with Henderson. He's the safest. If I'm chasing points, I go with Foreman.
All right, I'm probably a Henderson guy there. Dalton Schultz or Zach Ertz?
Ertz.
I'm going to say Ertz just because Hopkins is out.
Exactly. Yep.
See, pick one of Dontrell Hilliard, Craig Reynolds, Chuba, Royce Freeman, or Amir Abdullah.
Gross.
Like I don't
It
even
is,
know
but I'm going to go with the Lions fella, Chase Reynolds, right?
Craig Reynolds. Yeah, I agree. I'd go with Craig Reynolds. Oh God.
I've only even heard of a couple of those guys. So, all right, pick one for your flex: Bateman, Donovan Peoples-Jones, AJ Green, or Pat Freiermuth.
I'm going Green just because Hopkins again.
Yeah, Green played well last week. I'll ride that hot hand.
Give me Freiermuth, just because. I don't know why. All right, pick one for your flex: Ayuk, Beasley, or Penny.
Penny.
Ayuk to me, Penny second to me.
I have a tough time not playing Ayuk against Atlanta. I do like Penny, but I play Ayuk.
Yeah, I agree with Sicoli. All right, Gasecki or Ertz? That's Ertz.
Gasecki.
Yeah, safer.
Okay, you guys are all wrong. All right. Will anyone take me out in the staff league? Well, probably. I mean, dude, it depends on how nice you're going to get dressed up for us. I mean, if I'm going to take you out on a date, it's going to be worth my time.
Sicoli prefers his dates to wear sweaters as well. So
I have nothing against sweaters. All of a sudden, are sweaters a bad thing? I'm not sure where I got that memo or I missed it. But
they're not. They're not.
It's the winter. It's December. It's Christmas.
No, I'm just saying it's really nice for your grandma to loan you her sweater every Monday.
Yeah, but you do know that ugly sweater season does end soon, right? So you're going to have to give it up.
Does end soon, but not yet. It's still
Doug's talking big in that Bulls pullover.
I'm sorry. Winning team versus how's your Lakers doing? Or do you even have a team?
I don't even have a team. I have a team. I'll pick a team in May.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay. Cousin Bo wants to know is for PPR flex Royce Freeman, Tajay Sharp, Godwin, Igwedubiki, Wiki.
Royce Freeman. Gross.
Yeah, Royce Freeman.
Okay.
Why not Royce Freeman?
All right. Pick 2 of Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, and Antonio Gibson.
First 2.
I said Gibson just because he's not playing until Tuesday.
Yeah.
Chubb and Gibson. I'll just line up that Tuesday slate and just hurt myself doing it.
And then Jeff Wilson or Donta Freeman?
Foreman.
Wait, is it Devonta Freeman or is it Deontay Foreman?
It's Donta Foreman because I can't read.
Understandable. I'd play Foreman.
I'll go Wilson.
Again, this is one of those answers. I go Foreman if I'm trying to protect the league. Jeff Wilson if I'm chasing a lead.
All right. Manny on Twitter, Gallup or Lazard?
Gallup.
Not chasing the Packers wide receiver 2 anymore.
All right. Jeff Wilson, Mark Ingram, or Mike Davis?
Jeff Wilson.
Yep. Jeff Wilson.
Okay. Jake Scudder says Darnell Mooney, Sony Michel, Russell Gage, or Rashad Penny?
Oh, goodness.
Penny.
Maybe Russell Gage because the other 3 got their games moved. So
Mooney was always the Monday night game.
Yeah, that's right. Excuse me.
But yeah, I'll take Mooney because I'm a homer. And then Andrew Fitzgerald wants to know Dak or Tua.
Dak.
I feel like Dak's. Yeah. All righty, off to the rapid fires. All right, Josh Allen over under 31.5 rushing yards.
I'll go over.
I'll go under. That's sprained foot.
Yeah, under.
Oh, true.
All right, AJ Dillon over under 55.5 rushing yards.
Under.
Over.
I'll go over.
Under. Donta Foreman over under 52.5 rushing yards.
Over.
I'll go under.
I'll go over. Ugh.
I'll go over. And then James Robinson over under 85.5 rushing yards.
Gosh, that's high. I'll go under.
Over. I'm taking every over on James Robinson this week.
Over.
All right. Top quarterback for week 15.
Kyler.
I've got Kyler also.
Kyler.
Yeah, Kyler makes sense. Just to be derisive, give me Aaron Rodgers. Chase Claypool over under 55.5 receiving yards.
Under. I hate that guy.
I'll go over. I think they're gonna have to throw.
I think under as well. Dak over under 278.5 passing yards.
Over.
I'll go under.
Over. I think he could jump that a little bit. 290-ish.
All right. AJ Green 53.5 receiving yards.
I'll go over.
Over.
I'm going to take the
I'll go under. I'll play him, but maybe he scores.
All right. And then 251.5 passing yards.
I'll go over.
I'll take over.
Over.
I feel like it's a big number for 2. I'm going to go under on that one. All right. Top running back of the week.
I'm going
I really
Najee.
want Coley to say James Robinson because I don't want to say it, but I want Coley to say it.
Okay, James Robinson.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll go Alvin Kamara.
I'm going Najee.
I'll go Dalvin just to watch the world burn. Jamar Chase, 63.5 receiving yards.
I'll go over.
Yeah.
I'll take over just because you're doing it in one play.
Yeah, that's fair. Cordero Patterson, over under 83.5 total yards.
I'll go under.
Over.
I'm going to take the over on that one. All right. Kamara, over under 4.5 catches.
Over.
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 All right. And your top 15 wideouts.
Cup.
I'll go Deontay.
Man, I wish I should have had one lined up. I'll go Devontae Adams.
And I will also go Justin Jefferson because, again, I like Payne. More total yards, Nick Chubb or Josh Jacobs?
I'll go
Nick
Chubb.
There's no one else.
With this, right?
Huh?
What
What?
did you say, Coley?
I said Nick Chubb's the only one left. Kareem Hunt's out. I think
Yeah.
it's just Chubb and Dearness Johnson.
Yeah, Chubb.
Chubb is the correct answer. More third down check downs, Justin Fields or Kirk Cousins?
Can you repeat that one?
Who's going to have more third down check down throws, Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
I'll go Cousins.
Fields.
I'll go Fields, but the correct answer is Ben Roethlisberger.
I will go Fields because they will get to third down more often with that.
Fair.
Cooper Kupp, over under 8.5 catches.
Under.
Oh, that's a crazy line. I'll go under. That's insane.
Over.
Yeah, I'll take the under on that one too. All right, your top tight end for the week.
And Travis Kelce.
Kittle.
Kittle.
Well, yeah, Kelsey for sure, but I'll go Kittle for what's left.
Yeah, we're not counting Kelsey. Kittle.
Hey, I wanted the alley-oop here.
You just want to name drop him, whatever.
Yeah, no, I'll go with Kittle's fine with me too there.
Yeah, sure. Why not? More rushing yards, Miles Sanders or Antonio Gibson? A couple of disappointments.
I'm going to go Gibson.
Same.
I'll go Gibson.
Sure, why not? Will Aaron Rodgers throw 3 touchdowns and break Brett Favre's Packers record?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. How sad is Doug that Darren Williams beat Frank Gore in a fight? I could really care less.
Gore got rocked at the end of that. I'm not sure if you caught the end of that, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Frank Gore.
I'm not sure Frank Gore remembers. Yeah.
Adam Sebbing?
Yeah.
Ecstatic. All right. What's your 101 Christmas song?
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
Jingle Bell Rock.
Oh,
Let me bring up my playlist.
I was gonna say Jingle Bell Rock, but I'll Rock Around the Christmas Tree. I'll take that. White Christmas is also pretty tough to beat, though.
Yeah, let me see. Hang on. I've got a whole. There's my.
Doug's that guy.
I am that guy because I can never remember anything on the fly because I'm an old man. Give me Spidey Bells. That's a fun one.
Whatever that is.
Spidey Bells.
It's from the Into the Spider-Verse movie a couple of years ago.
No, my
Okay.
God.
It's
Go
Chris-
home. Go
It's
home.
Chris
you're
Pine
old.
singing it.
Go
Chris
home.
Pine's-
My backup is, oh, there's no place like home.
That's fair. That's better. You named. We all named at least 2 songs better than what Doug picked for one.
Whatever. That's because you're lame. 101 Christmas movie.
No, Christmas Vacation.
Die Hard.
It is Muppets Christmas Carol, and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
That is a quality film.
All right, and the 101 Christmas cookie.
I don't know if it's necessarily a Christmas cookie, but you can't go wrong with a chocolate chip cookie.
A sugar cookie screams Christmas for me, so I'll go sugar cookie.
I agree with sugar cookies. Decorated.
Yes.
You know,
has to be that.
and I'm going with the white chocolate covered pretzels because this is the time of year that I get those.
I'll allow it.
I'll also throw out haystacks.
Oh, haystacks are fire.
That was as much excitement I've seen on Deej since we mentioned Kelsey.
I know, right? since he's talked tight ends.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you gentlemen wish to discuss before we shut this down?
I want to throw out one thing as a DFS player. Michael Carter, 4,700. For whatever reason, Ty Johnson was a healthy scratch, so I'm guessing Carter must be rather healthy. So get him in your lineups.
I'll throw something out as well, is that this is the playoffs. We have COVID running rampant. If you have an open bench spot, start picking up backups Monday for the Monday games, for the Tuesday games, because if that starter goes down and even if you're not going to play him, your opponent might have someone, start blocking. You can start blocking players right now.
It's a good call. There's a good call, Sokole. Way to be conniving. I like it.
Well, it's the playoffs, man.
It is. Hey,
And
make
if
sure
you got a 50-50 matchup with players playing today versus players playing Monday or Tuesday that weren't supposed to play Monday or Tuesday, go ahead and play your Sunday player.
Take him out of your flex.
I do have Josh Jacobs going, but in my league, that, like I said, that's a league that I run, and I made the ability to play a substitute if you need be. So I've already designated Myles Gaskin as my substitute there.
Yep. All's fair in love, war, and fantasy football playoffs.
Unless you're that guy, like we said, who rescheduled his matchup for next week.
Oh, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. All right. So for Deej, for Brian, for Sokole and his sweater, I am Doug. We wish you a Merry Christmas.
I'm just trying to find the sweater. That's all.
Dude,
Yeah,
we've seen it. It exists. It's fun.
And don't forget to check out Sokole and his sweater. He'll be joined by Nick and his mustache tomorrow night.
And his kimono.
Yeah.
I need to change their logo to add the sweater and the kimono.
We're working into the name somehow.
I got next week off for the holidays. Maybe I've got some time to do that kind of stuff.
Oh, please.
All right. We want to wish everybody happy holidays. We want to thank you for stopping in with us. We will be back next Sunday for all of the nonsense over there. So again, thanks for everyone for tuning in, and we will see y'all next week.
Don't
Merry
forget
Christmas,
the line,
everybody.
Brian. Good.
Y'all, Merry Christmas.
Good luck in your matchups this week, guys.
Win the playoffs.
That's right. I almost missed that.
You did.